Just a second. It's preparing to live stream. Yes, we are live. Just a second. It's preparing. Yes, ma'am, we are live.
Sixth in the series of monthly talks, we invited Professor Behl for a talk on the Destination Heritage platform. Thank you, Professor Behl, for graciously accepting our invitation so that our listeners today will be enthralled on the subject of the sacred Buddhist dance. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the trustees of Destination Heritage and myself, Dr. Geeta, the founder trustee. In the 4th century, in the region of Kashmir, Asanga and Vasubandhu developed the Yogacara school of Buddhism, which was to travel far and wide. In the 8th century, Guru Padmasambhava, who was teaching in Kashmir, took a highly developed form of this Buddhism and its sacred dance to Ladakh, Lahaul Spiti, Kinau, Western Tibet, and other places. For 45 years, Professor Behl had traveled repeatedly to all corners of India and to many countries of Asia to explore and document the cultures. In all this time, the most fascinating living cultural tradition that he had come across is the sacred Buddhist dance, which is the dance of the liberation of lamas. The charm is a sacred Buddhist dance, which is the dance of liberation of the lamas. The charm is a marvelous meditative practice with the deep roots in the essence of Buddhist philosophical thought. It is also a wonderful occasion when the lamas share their journey and mystical experience with the local community who gather around them. And this is one of the few examples surviving today for the true purpose of dance from ancient times. I now invite Mrs. Sujata Chatterjee to introduce our speaker, Professor Benoy Behl, who will take over from her for the next 50 minutes or so. So a warm welcome to you, Professor Benoy Behl, and also to you, Sujata Chatterjee. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Geeta. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me so much pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of Destination Heritage, Dr. Geeta Badikilaya and Professor Benoy K. Behl. How does one speak of an art historian who is a respected speaker at a breathtakingly long list of prestigious universities and museums around the world? Yet, art history is only one part of his life mission. He's a filmmaker who has made over 146 deeply researched documentary films. He's an eminent photographer, Buddhist scholar, and a record setting traveler. He is the person who, for the first time, photographed the Buddhist paintings of Ajanta in their true colors and details. His book, The Ajanta Caves, is the most widely read book on Indian art history in the world. As an art historian, he has clearly established a continuous tradition of painting in India since ancient times. From 2001 till 2020, when the last Limca Book of Records was published, Professor Behl was each year given the record for being the most traveled photographer and art historian. For decades, he traveled to all corners of the country, often spending just one night at each location. Therefore, despite the vastness of the corpus of surviving Indian art, a journey through art history with him takes us to numerous places of significance, including those which are not well known to tourists. Today, Professor Behl takes us to one of the greatest traditions of meditation in the world, the dance of liberation of the lamas. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Benoy K. Behl, will speak to us now. I thank you for your attention, and over to Professor Behl now.
Thank you very much, Sujata Chatterjee. Thank you very much, Dr. Geeta. Such a pleasure to be with your audience on Destination Heritage. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Beyond the many treatises on philosophic thought, is beyond the nuances, the subtle nuances of philosophy, beyond the numerous extensive debates on philosophic points, the action point of Indian philosophy is yoga. It is through yoga that we finally are on the path to seek our oneness with all that there is, to leave behind the noise and confusion of the material world, to see the truth of our unity with all that there is. And it was in the 4th century that Asanga and Vasubandhu in the valley of Kashmir started the Yogacara school of Buddhism, which spread far and wide. In fact, it is so wonderful to come across statues of Asanga and Vasubandhu in faraway places like Nara, ancient temple in Nara where they are still revered. And as Dr. Geeta mentioned, in later centuries, this developed further, became more sophisticated in the form of Vajrayana Buddhism, which Guru Padmasambhava took to the Trans-Himalayas. And in this Vajrayana Buddhism, the most fascinating cultural practice, the most fascinating philosophic practice that I've come across is the cham. It's a marvelous, forgive me, since since yesterday evening I've had this allergic cold. So it is yoga in all its 4 forms. Karma yoga, the course, the path of selfless action. Bhakti yoga, the losing of oneself in personalized devotion to the divine. Jnana yoga, the pursuit of knowledge to eventually bring about liberation. And Raja yoga, through the many asanas, to create the platform, the asana, the platform, the seat from where to be able to search for this great knowledge which we seek. Through all this, it is yoga which is the path towards knowledge. Now, one of the forms of yoga, one of the great forms of meditation in the Indian tradition is art, including the art of dance. And some of the deepest, some of the finest, some of the greatest examples of yoga are in dance. And another form that I can think of, which continues a living tradition till today, is the Rasa Leela in Manipur. And this, which you're going to see today, the great Cham dance of the Lamas. Now, in this dance, it is Because in the Indian tradition, in the Indian classic tradition, dance was not meant to be a performance that is done on a stage and we all get together and clap. Dance was a losing of oneself. The practitioner lost himself or herself, gave up the gave up their own identity to lose themselves in the search for the grace which is beyond. And the people gathered, all such dance was on the sacred ground, whether it is the ground of the monastery or whether it is a ground of the temple in Manipur still. It is a sharing of this experience, the experiential knowledge of the dancer is being shared with the villagers who gather, the people who come to gain this knowledge, the people who come to share in this, to lose themselves, to be able to gain the grace which is beyond all this. So these great examples of dance that survive are very important to understand the entire cultural processes of ancient India. And gives me great pleasure to bring this before you today as the shared experience of the lamas with the villagers who will gather. The lamas will seek to lose themselves through prayers before the event for many days and through the actual dance, to lose their identity, to lose their egos, to lose their preoccupation with yesterday and tomorrow, to be the deity whom they have selected to represent. And in the process, they hope to revive within us the qualities of that deity, which will take us on the path towards knowledge. So it gives me great pleasure, and I request Manali to please show the film. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Just a moment. Okay.
Over the past 31 years, I've had the joy of traveling repeatedly to many corners of this vast subcontinent that is India. It is amazing to see how landscapes, culture, food, music, dances, and even languages change every few hundred kilometers that you drive. You see the highest mountains of the world, great seas, bountiful rivers, and best of all, a people whose thoughts and heritage go back a few thousand years. Join us on an enthralling journey. I am traveling again across the whole of India to bring you spectacular India. This first film will take you to a magical land. We will go across the great Himalayas to the high altitude cold deserts of Ladakh and Spiti. Here the oxygen is scarce in the air and we have to lie down for at least a day to allow our bodies to acclimatize. We will go to the land of the dance of liberation of the lamas. Ladakh, the land of high mountain passes, is nestled between the tallest mountains of the world, the Himalayas and the Karakoram range. Here, eternity is never beyond the vision of man. The Buddhist faith arrived here in ancient times. It brought with it belief in the harmony of the whole of creation. The belief that the transitory world around is an illusion called samsara. We must lift the veils of this illusion to see the truth beyond, the truth of our oneness with all that there is.
Life is difficult in the high-altitude deserts. The Buddhist faith imbues the lives of the people here with patience and understanding, with a vision which is born out of the love of all of creation, a vision which always looks to the eternal. These are lives which are touched in every moment by the sacred. In a life which is constantly imbued with the consciousness of the eternal, the gompas or monasteries play an essential part. These are in fact the centers of all village activity. The lamas are deeply respected and loved. Prayers are a constant refrain in everyday life. The gentle traditions of Buddhism are continued by the people of Ladakh till today. Their prayer wheels are meant to unite the body, mind and words in harmonious prayer. Mantras, or sacred chants, are written on scrolls of paper which are inside the prayer wheels. Prayers are also recited while turning the wheel. Thus, the faithful remain fully absorbed in thoughts and deeds related to that which is beyond. Buddhists in these mountain regions also write their prayers upon flags which flutter in the breeze. They believe that the offerings of their prayers are taken by the wind and spread throughout the world. Chortans or stupas guard the entrances to the villages and dot the Himalayan landscape. They remind us that the land is truly blessed by the prayers and deeds of the faithful over the years. The Spiti Valley in Himachal Pradesh presents a vast and majestic landscape. It has azure blue skies, mountains of unimaginable hues, and bushes of sia, wild roses that fill the air with their fragrance. The high mountain passes which connect this valley to the rest of the world remain snowbound for half the year. As one can imagine, life is extremely hard. The culture of this region is steeped in the compassion of the Buddhist faith. In ancient times, the people of Tibet and the Indian Himalayas lived in fear of evil spirits, who they believed resided in the mountains and in the winds. This fear prevented them from accepting the compassionate message of Buddhism. Guru Padmasambhava was known to be a great master of Tantric Buddhism. He had studied at the renowned Nalanda University in eastern India, where he had imbibed deep knowledge of Tantric philosophy and rituals. The great Guru swept across the entire mountainous region, through Ladakh, Kinnaur, Lahaul Spiti, Tibet, Nepal and Arunachal Pradesh, establishing Buddhism everywhere. He used the greater magic of his tantras to subdue the feared demons. He made them defenders of the Buddhist faith. Till today, he remains the most revered deity of the entire Himalayan region. Padmasambhava brought with him the cham, or ritual dance. With this, he scared away negative forces and prepared the mountainous region for Buddhism. When he consecrated the first great monastery of Tibet at Samye, it is believed that he rose up into the air to dance. Where his shadow fell, the land was made pure, and this became the boundary for the sacred space of the monastery. Till today, the cham is performed across the mountains to keep the land blessed for Buddhism to prosper.
The word cham is a very difficult word. It is not translated properly so far, I believe. And there must be an equivalent word for cham in Sanskrit. You believe that through these ritual dances, with meditation, with concentration, and with visualizations, and with good motivations, then you can remove many obstacles that you may face.
The monasteries each have their own dates for the celebration of the cham. The festival is usually held over a period of 2 days, once a year. Chosen monks of the monastery perform the sacred ritual. People gather from all the villages around for the cham.
We are here at the Hemis Monastery, about 32 kilometers south of Leh in Ladakh. This monastery celebrates the birthday of the great Guru Padmasambhava. The Lamas celebrate with 2 days of the cham dance, the monastic dance of the Lamas. The dance celebrates the victory of good over evil. It celebrates the achievements and the magic of Guru Padmasambhava. We see him in his 8 different manifestations as he subdues evil, the evil which had haunted the minds of the people of Tibet.
तंत्रिक में खुद को उसको विचार करके देवता के रूप में प्रकट होना पड़ता है, वो विचार रखना होता है। दूसरे धर्म और बौद्ध धर्म में अंतर यही है, तो दूसरे धर्मों में देवता का किसी का भी विचार करेगा, उसकी पूजा करेगा, साधना करेगा, लेकिन हम उस देवता को खुद नहीं बन सकता है। बुद्धिज्म में जो भी पत्नी है, आप है, मैं है, या जो भी है, आस्ते आस्ते हम भी बुद्धत्व प्राप्त कर सकता है।
The cham dance of the Lamas signifies the victory of knowledge over ignorance. In Buddhist thought, the greatest evil is the ego. It is that sense of the self which is the greatest illusion that we must lose in order to gain true knowledge. We are in the key monastery, which is high atop a towering hill in the heart of Spiti. Here the cham is performed on a summer's day. The Lamas spend many days in preparation for the cham. They have each selected a deity who they will be, and they meditate. They meditate to lose their own identity and to become that deity. For on the day of the cham, it is not the Lamas who will dance, but the deities who will be on the sacred ground.
अभी तो ऐसे कि लोग ये कि फंक्शन में ऐसे ही तमाशा के रूप में देखता है, वो एक्चुअली ऐसा नहीं है। वो देखने वाला भी एक देवता के दर्शन कर रहा हूँ करके देखना चाहिए। डांस करने वाले लामाओं में भी करुणा का, देवता का विचार रखना चाहिए असली तो।
Ancient knowledge is passed down through the generations. Young Lamas are trained by teachers using texts that are sanctified by time. As the Lamas rehearse, the child monks watch intently, By the time it is their turn to wear the masks, they would already be familiar with the dance movements. The day before the Cham, the monks pray to gather their spiritual powers for the sacred dance. These prayers are imbued with deep tantric meaning. Symbolic weapons are used to subdue malevolent deities. In Vajrayana Buddhism, evil is not something outside of ourselves. It is our own ego, our attachment to the illusory world around. It is this evil within us which is subdued and transformed through the prayers and finally through the experience of the Cham. I am in the sacred storeroom of the Key Monastery with Lamaji Tenzing. The costumes and masks for the Cham are stored here. These masks are very important, for on the sacred ground it is not the individuals, the lamas, who will dance. They have to forget themselves, they have to obliterate their own personalities to become the deity. So it is the deity who will dance.
Actually, all the deities you find in Tantrayana, they are form of different wisdoms, like compassion, the power. So all these qualities of Buddhas appeared in different forms, and then that is easier for practitioners to visualize.
उनके जो कपड़े जो है वो पहनेंगे पहले, तो पूरा वो जो मास्क लगा के, तो हम सोचे इनकी हम उसको फील करेंगे कि वो हमारे हृदय में प्रवेश कर चुका है। पूजा हम रोज़ यहाँ पर 7 दिन पूरा पूजा ही करते हैं, तो पूजा करके और ये भी मानते हैं कि हमारे जो मन में जो पहले जो गलत सोच हो अब वगैरह वगैरह ऐसे ही चले गए हैं, साफ़ हो गए। खुद को पहले उसके काबिल बनाना पड़ता है मंत्र मुझे जाप के, ये पूरा मानना पड़ता है कि ये जा चुका है, हमारे मन में कोई भी वो पाप नहीं है, कोई हम पूरी तरह सच हैं, तब हम इसको लेकर छम डांस करते हैं।
Today, on the day of the Cham, these are the last few personal moments that the Lamajis have before they surrender their personalities completely to be the deities who will dance upon the ground and shower blessings upon the whole universe.
The Cham begins in the morning with the appearance of La Lung Paldor. In the 9th century, King Langdharma had persecuted Buddhists. The monk La Lung Paldor, disguised as a black hat dancer, came close to the king and killed him with an arrow. The event is celebrated in all the monasteries of the Trans-Himalayas as the majestic black hat dance. The masks cover the ordinary day-to-day nature of the men and present instead qualities of the deities within them. There are peaceful masks and those with wrathful expressions. Finally, both symbolize the emptiness of the ultimate nature of all appearances.
A Cham, its literary meaning in Cham means to stroll. It is believed then Shakyamuni Buddha, when under the peepal tree, when he got awakening, after that he knew what is the true nature of this universe, and then he realized, okay, how I can tell it to the people. So he woke up and started thinking, now whom I should tell it, how I should I should experience, I should share these things. So he was strolling, while thinking, and this was not already strolling, So each step he was thinking, meditating, and trying to contemplate, making his thought more concrete, more sharpening it. So this is the beginning of the cham. So it is a meditative movements, well choreographed, if you want to say like that. So well choreographed. For the common people, it looked like a dance, but the person who does it, he has to undergo a tremendous kind of a meditative process, and he has to transform himself into a deity.
All sounds in the cham are sacred mantras. The drum is a reminder of the deep sound that resounded at the beginning of creation. It also sounded at the moment of the Buddha's enlightenment. It proclaimed the victory of wisdom over the darkness of ignorance. Music is presented as an offering to the divine. It elevates the mind to a deeply contemplative state, freeing it from the bindings of the mundane world. For the eternal moment of the cham, earthly reality is suspended, desires and suffering forgotten, as the deities dance, blessing every being. Vajrayana Buddhist thought has the clarity and indestructible nature of a diamond, as well as the striking nature of a thunderbolt. Its purpose is to free us and to dispel the veils of ignorance with the force of a clap of thunder. The meditating monks perceive an inner reality, far more true than the illusion of the material world around. The linga, or symbol, represents our ego. Finally, it is dismembered and cut into many pieces with the dagger of wisdom. Once the linga, our ego, is destroyed, true consciousness is liberated. Men, women and children gather at the monastery from villages near and far. For these deeply devout Buddhists, the sacred performance allows them to be in the presence of the deities they worship. The Turma is considered to be the abode of Yama. In the days of the prayers, all negative forces within us are sent to the Turma. The faith of the people is profound. Here at the key monastery, they lie under the feet of the passing monks. They yearn for the touch of the robes of the deities. They believe that this will bless them. At the culmination of the cham, the Turma is taken out of the monastery to a remote place. Here, it is thrown away by the lamas.
But sometimes some monks who are practicing Dharma seriously, they can come in that kind of form and so forth. But it has become very rare because of this degenerate time. because the people's faith in spirituality or people's faith in Dharma has tremendously reduced. The times have changed, and it's changing, of course. And that's why we call this time is degenerating, what we call Kalyug.
लामा के विचार में देवताओं का करुणा का जीता उसका विचार होना चाहिए। मैंने कहने का मतलब ऐसा है। वो कितना रख पाता है वो लामाओं पर निर्भर करेगा। ये रख सकता है नहीं सकता मैं गारंटी नहीं कह सकता हूँ, क्योंकि अभी थोड़ा ज़माना थोड़ा कलयुग आ रहा है ना।
This is the land made pure by Guru Padma Sambhava of the Nalanda University more than 1,000 years ago. The search for the emancipation of the self continues till today. It is the desire to rise above the attachments and the illusions of the material world. A search of which the Chham is an ultimate expression.
Some of you may have noticed the large number of times that the robes of the monks or their billowing sleeves were in fact rubbing against the lens of the camera. For I had come very close to them, extremely close to them to try to capture the living moment of the dance. In fact, once I remember that as the Lamaji turned around and brought his sword down, he didn't know that I was there. And the sword, the heavy sword, came crashing into the microphone which was mounted on top of my camera. But it was only the microphone which was dented. I was absolutely safe. So that was extremely lucky. So this was the experience of 30 years of visiting the Chham again and again. So many occasions on which I photographed and videoed the Chham performances. I believe my sound is coming, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
Good. Right. So this is in fact a most marvelous philosophic practice, a most marvelous practice of meditation. As you heard the Lamaji say, they spend 7 days in prayer and meditation to leave their selves behind, to leave behind all thoughts concerning their own lives, to leave behind their desires and attachments and confusions of the material world, so that it is finally the deity that has been chosen. It is the deity who should be there on the sacred ground, not the individual person, not the individual Lama. And the people come together to share that experience, to awaken that deity within themselves, to become that deity which sets one on the path towards the final knowledge. A most marvelous experience. And what a glorious sharing of the philosophic experience between the Lamajis and the people who come. In fact, you saw that at the key monastery, the Lamajis were gingerly stepping in between the people as the people lay down on their path because they wanted to feel the touch of their robes. They felt that the touch of their robes would bless them. I remember the occasion once when there was unseasonal rain and the Lamaji's heavy costumes became much heavier because they were wet. And the Lamajis were, with their very heavy shoes and extremely heavy costumes, were gingerly trying to step in between the people who were lying in their path. And sometimes you could not help it. I could make out that they were, in fact, stepping on the people. But the people did not mind. The people felt it was a blessing. There is something to understand in all this. There is something which goes beyond that which is of concern to us, that which is of concern to us in the mundane world, that which is a reaching out, that which is a conviction. There is something which is beyond. And it is these events that help people to leave their mundane lives, their confusions, their desires, and rise to other levels of reality. Reality which in fact goes far beyond the maya or mithya of the material world. I would be very happy to answer questions later. Thank you very much.
You are indeed blessed to have such ethereal experiences. And we are very fortunate that you are sharing these experiences with us to such an extent that we feel that we are also participating in that dance or whichever subject you take upon. As always, the professor's talk is delightful and invigorating. The specialty is the accompanying short videos that he has made on a range of cultural aspects for Doordarshan. And it is this visual connect that drives home the essence of his talks brilliantly. The focus in his talk was on the masks, the dance, lamas, the cultural and philosophical precepts. He stimulated our curiosity with the concept of the dance of the lavas in the trans-Himalayan regions, which seeks to lift the veil of illusion of samsara to see the truth and of oneness surrounding us. Thus, that it was introduced at a time when people of the region believed in evil spirits residing in the mountains and in the air. He further emphasized this was Guru Sambhava's idea to prepare these regions for Buddhism. Thus, once in 2 years, the Cham dance is performed to celebrate the achievements and the magic of Guru Padmasambhava as he is seen in his 8 manifestations for subduing evil. From his explanation, Professor Behl has strongly driven the idea that Cham dances signify the victory of knowledge over ignorance, and the greatest is the ego, that is, the importance of the self. As such, it's not the lamas dancing, but deities who subdue malevolence. This is aided by the use of masks to obliterate one's personality and become another, and in this case, the deity. The masks depict both peaceful nature and of ferocity. This ensures that the lay people understand the qualities of the Buddha with this performing art. The Cham is thus a glorious tradition where the monks have to make themselves deserving and pure before they can perform. The choreography is one of well coordinated and meditative movements. No wonder music and dance are an offering to the divine, taking the mind to a deeply contemplative state. And as the professor said, something akin to yoga. The search for emancipation of the self continues till a date, and towards this end, the chum is the ultimate expression. Thank you so much for the wonderful talk. We were all, I mean, glued to what you were saying, and it was the documentary that made it more effective. Like I say, it is the audio, not only the audio, but the visual, which makes an impact for a long, long time to come. So before Manali takes over, I would like to ask one question. Is there any hierarchy in the performance of these dances by the lamas? Secondly, they wear masks. Are there artists who can still make this, know the methodology of making this mask when there is wear and tear?
Yes. And first of all, thank you once again, Dr. Geeta, for your beautiful summary. And thank you so much for having me here to speak and for everything. There are, in fact, some masks which are recently made, and most of the masks are very old. So the tradition does survive to some extent. The great masks are the early ones. In fact, this is a tradition which has spread so far and wide. The most beautiful masks that I have seen are surviving in the museum at Mongolia. So the cham itself has spread far and wide, and the tradition of masks too. And now, your first question was...
Is there a hierarchy in the choosing the lamas to perform this dance? Because it is something that one has to lose yourself. All our inner has to be, feelings have to be obliterated, and we have to let go of the self or the ego. So it is only the senior lamas who are able to do this, or anybody who is able to have a practice of this obliteration, are they given the chance?
Yes. As you heard the Lama Ji and Rinpoche Ji himself talking, it is an extremely difficult task to be able to lose oneself, to actually be able to concentrate enough, to be able to practice yoga enough, to be able to dance, to be able to do the cham, to lose oneself. It's extremely difficult. So it requires many years of devotion and many years of practice. Therefore, it is usually senior monks who find themselves in this position. And it is something which they start learning at a very early age. Even as children, they take an interest in this dance. But it is usually senior people who are able to reach the level, because it's a deep, deep, deep meditation. It takes a whole lifetime of devotion to be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. Manali, now you can take the questions. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Benoy, for the very enchanting talk and the even more enchanting documentary that you have shown us today. And thank you, Dr. Geeta, for giving the summary of the talk. And I have a question of my own. Yes. Sir, how do you envision the future of the sacred Buddhist dance in a rapidly changing cultural landscape? Because there's so much going on. And also, how can we further popularize this? Because Destination Heritage is doing a wonderful job in popularizing such things which are very rarely known by people. But how can we further popularize it without diluting the spiritual essence of this sacred Buddhist dance? That's my question.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Manali. Now, first, the relevance and importance of the cham. It is, in fact, extremely relevant in today's world. In today's world, which is such a materially driven culture, where people are so immersed in their daily making of money and achievements in the material world. It is so important to be able to realize that which is more important. It's so important to achieve a balance between these things which go into the heart of ourselves, which go deep within ourselves, to help us recognize that which is within us, to help us realize those things which are in fact the font of happiness. While we live in a material world where we chase material gains one after the other, perhaps getting absolutely no happiness out of it at all, because we do not develop ourselves, we do not awaken the qualities within ourselves which make life worth the living. So, the importance of the cham, the importance of such other practices like the cham, are of enormous importance. And coming to the second part of what you asked. Now, it is in fact extremely difficult to try to preserve the spiritual essence of any cultural practice while popularizing it. In fact, in Ladakh and Spiti itself, you see that if you go to a remote village, at least Ki used to be a remote village the last time I was going there. Now I think it is no longer so remote. But while it was remote, the monks were immersed in their meditation. They were immersed in their dance. And the people were lost in their desire to gain from the dance. But in other places, which are often visited by tourists, it is in fact the tourists who had taken over. The villagers, the genuine worshippers, were kept behind, were in fact kept behind a fence which was made, whereas the tourists who had the dollars and rupees to spend were up front. And they had absolutely no recognition of the fact that it was something sacred, something very worthy that they were watching. So the result is that the Lamajis in such places which were infested with tourists had already lost their desires to dance so well. They were just carrying out a mechanical exercise. So it's very important to see that how you can have the continuance of cultural practice, how you can preserve culture and yet be able to attract some tourists. Because the unbridled and uncontrolled forms of tourism are a complete destruction of all culture. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you very much, sir. That's a very articulate and very wonderful way of answering. And thank you for solving that question for me. There is one question by Kumarji. Sorry, not a question, but an observation. I have visited many monasteries, never came across Padma Sambhava performance. I really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you very much. That is what Kumarji has written. Mahesh ji has written, I am blessed, was fortunate to visit Hemis and Key Monastery, could relate to the space you have shown. I have always wanted to see Cham, and you just blessed us with your fantastic video narration and wonderful voice. And he has asked a question. Are public allowed to perform this meditative dance?
Thank you very much for your kind appreciation. Uh, the public would be certainly welcome to immerse themselves in the practice. So that means that it would probably take a long time. It may take years for them to reach a level where they could actually do the jump. But it is not. It is not as if it is just a matter of following certain movements or steps, and somebody can start doing it. But all public would certainly be welcome to follow the faith, to follow the Buddhist practices, then one day reach a level where they could lose themselves, lose their concerns in the material world, and be able to do the cham. And here I must say that the origins of the cham are so beautifully explained in the film by Dr. Hirapol Gangbeki, where he says it is the original strolling of the Buddha himself after he had gained enlightenment, going back and forth, meditatively thinking of what he should do. That is the beginning of this meditation. It's just marvelous to see that meditation is considered so important in the Indian tradition. All philosophy must lead to meditation. It is meditation where all the nuances of philosophy, with all the arguments, all the ideas which are put forward, come together. And to go forward, to, to gain something out of it, you have to meditate. You have to do yoga. I remember in one of my conversations with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I asked him what he thought about yoga. And he said, all of Buddhism is yoga. Indeed, such is the importance of yoga, and such is the importance of art in the yogic tradition. And what a marvelous way to share knowledge. Thank you.
Shiv Shankar Babu sir has written, enchanting video, Dr. Behl sir. The story of Padma Sambhava needs to be spread to a wider audience with the help of heritage organizations like Destination Heritage. Indeed, sir. Yashashvi Sharma ji has written, wonderful documentary, sir. I want to ask you the major differences we see in the monastic dances in the Western Himalayas, like in Ladakh, and Eastern Himalayas, like in Sikkim.
In fact, I've gone a little further east and shot the dances in Arunachal also. And essentially, whether it is Ladakh, whether it is Sikkim, Arunachal, Mongolia, the essence of it is the same. The essence of it is the practice of leaving the self behind. And the masks are very important everywhere because they help, the masks help the Lamaji himself and also the people who come to see. It helps everybody to obliterate the personality of the Lamaji. For the personality must not come in at all. It is the deity. And all this helps us to realize so well that in the Buddhist traditions and in Indic traditions, the deities are within ourselves. The deities are not external gods, as in the Western tradition, whom we worship. The deities are within ourselves. We have to awaken the deities within us, become the deity, and step by step, we move forward towards that final knowledge where there would be not even the deity. We don't know exactly what they would be, but yoga suggests that it would be a oneness, all that there is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There is one more question by Mahesh ji. If this is just one of the videos you created, where can we find the archive of your other creations, the documentaries, and is it accessible to us?
Yes, there are 146 documentary films which I have made on these subjects, and many of these are available on my YouTube channel, Benoy Behl, and you could access them there. And I would also like to mention my deep gratitude to Sujata Chatterjee, who makes it possible for me to do all that I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, Shiv Shankar, sir, for kindly sharing the link to the YouTube channel for the benefit of all the other viewers present in this session. If anybody else has anything
No,
to...
can you read out from the YouTube also? Have you read?
yes, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Give me a second. Oh, there are a multitude of comments.
Yes.
Yes. So sorry that I missed it. Mukta Srinivas ji and Dr. Harihar Srinivas Rao both have written good evening. Divya Rupa ji also. Mukta Srinivas ji has written, it was an enchanting experience. Such serene looking lamas wearing those scary wild masks was quite contrary. And she has also written excellent video.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
People are often surprised to see the fierce masks and the fierce attitudes. Now, the fierce attitudes, whether they are seen in the Cham dances or whether you see them when Durga is seen spearing the demon of ignorance, or when Lord Shiva is seen dancing upon the the demon Apasmara. These signify the courage within us, the courage which is needed to face the demons of our ignorance, the vitality, the dynamism, the courage, the vigor with which we must face the demons of our ignorance. And therefore, as the Buddhists say, it is the fierceness of compassion itself. It is all compassion. It begins with compassion, it ends with compassion, and often it includes the awakening of the energy which is required to finally take that compassion and take that knowledge where it must go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. T.S. Ravishankar has written, wow, spectacular presentation indeed. It's always a great treat to listen to Professor Behl's narration. It brings life to each narration. And Dr. Harihara Srinivas Rao has written, very precious path to reach the reality of universe, beautiful presentation. Then we have a question. Yes, sorry, sir. Yes, please continue.
I was just saying, very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. T.S. Ravishankar has written, is there any literature to know the antiquity of this dance tradition, how old it is?
It is believed that it was taken to the Trans-Himalayan regions of India and of Tibet in the 8th century by Guru Padmasambha. More specific literature, I'm afraid, is not available. But yes, but there is every reason to believe that these, which all emanate from the Yogacara school of Buddhism, which started in the 4th century in the valley of Kashmir, these Vajrayana developments from there, the sophistication and the codification and the developments of so many details in the Yogacara school and the Vajrayana school is what led to these sophisticated forms, including the Cham dance. So it is before the 8th century that you would expect the Cham dance had been formulated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Then we have a comment by Mukta Srinivas ji. Why are the masks scary? They are representing deities and shouldn't they be calm? So I think, sir, you have already addressed that. But if you have anything to add to it.
You are so right that I have already addressed that. And I would just say that it is that vigor that we need. There is so much of that vigor that we need to address the fact that all the lives that we see around us and our attachments to all the things that we chase every day, our attachments even to our beloved people, our spouses, our children, to be able to face the fact, to be able to explore the fact that all this may all be Maya, and we have to look beyond that. It requires a great deal of courage. As a matter of fact, that is why you have lions made at the gateway of temples and stupas, because the courage of the lion is required. That is why the Buddha's voice is also compared to the roar of the lion, because such is the roar that is required, such is the courage that is required to be able to even conceive of the fact that I may leave behind the life as I understand it now, to be able to look beyond. And yes, you need that vigor, you need that fierceness. And the more that you think about it, the more that you realize how much vigor is required to be able to seriously look beyond, the more you will understand and appreciate and align yourself to why the masks are so fierce. Thank you.
Absolutely. So what a wonderful answer. There's just one last question by Muktaji. What was representing the linga? Was it flesh or dough?
That was just dough. That was just dough. The important thing is that the linga means symbol. So it's just a symbol. And in this case, it is a symbol of our egos. Our egos, which are the most confusing things that there is, our egos that keep us bound to the pain of the world, our egos which keep us constantly trying for things which will never bring us any happiness. And it is these egos, it is this symbol of the ego that we must cut to pieces and throw away, so that we can go beyond and leave behind the pain of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Professor Benoy, especially for the compliment that you gave for the overview. How can it not be otherwise when we have such a wonderful storyteller? You are one of those speakers who is able to undividedly hold the attention of the listeners. And that is because you're telling a story that we fall in love with our culture. So as Manali said, we at Destination Heritage are committed to create an informed awareness of our India's rich cultural heritage, not only the youngsters, but those who are interested in Indian cultural heritage. We bring speakers and subjects wherein they wouldn't have normally listened to or read through. So it is a real effort that we put into to bring our speakers and the topics which most of them would not have spoken on other platforms. So I tell them, why don't you speak on some topics which you have never spoken? We would like to hear that. And thank you so much, Professor Benoy, for always saying yes to me and then coming on to the various platforms that I hold these sessions on. You are wonderful, and thank you so much for graciously accepting our attention. And we at Destination Heritage are ever grateful to you. Thank you so much. And also thank you. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you, Manali. And thank you, all my dear listeners who unfailingly support us whenever Destination Heritage has a webinar. We have good attendance. And we should say that we are able to kindle the interest of the listeners. And please do support us in the webinars that we will be having. Coming 28th or 29th, there is again going to be an interesting session on the Gita and the management principles. So I hope it will indeed be a treat, and looking forward to meeting you again, maybe same time in a week's time from now. Thank you once again, Dr. Behl. It has been a pleasure hosting you on our platform. And Manali, as always, you match your PhD expertise in such matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much, Geetaji. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Manali.
So good night. Shubharatri. Thank you, one and all.
Good night, everyone. Ending the meeting here, and